doing this segment called Raised on Rad because we have our moms all here in the room.
Yeah.
We decided that we would try to grill him as much as we could to get personally scarring information.
When did you know that was the kind of the stuff that he was into? How young was he?
I would say he was 2 years old, and he watched the first Star Wars.
Yeah.
When Jeff played with Bill and Patrick and stuff, what would they do?
They would mostly play Star Wars. Definitely, big time Star Wars.
What about toys? Were there any specific toys that he was into?
Well, the He-Man guys, I've got them with me. I mean, He-Man guys, Castle Grayskull.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, like you said, every one of them. I think Skeletor was the most important, don't you think?
Oh, wow.
Oh, gosh. I remember those toys so well.
Guys, we need to play later.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And then Karate Kid was huge.
Yeah.
I have the
What'd you say? I
Karate
need, like,
Kid
3
thing.
things, but
I mean, I
think it's
have. Well,
He has the
first
Karate
of all,
Kid.
this was a whole year's worth. Karate Kid.
He wore it around?
He wore this around his head whenever he could. He wore this everywhere and all the time. I haven't even untied it. When he was little, you know, he would always dress up as underoos, like you say. Those huge, important.
Big fan.
Did he have a favorite underoos that you remember, or was he superheroes or Star Wars or what?
Definitely superheroes for sure.
Yeah.
Superman, definitely.
Do you remember him wearing his underoos? Was this something he loved?
Oh, he
or?
loved his underoos.
Yeah, it was a big underoos.
Thank God for underoos.
That's our tagline for
Yeah,
the show.
it is. That's
Thank God for underoos.
Do you remember him being a very big G.I. Joe fan?
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh, yes. G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is a big thing. And the Hulk and The Greatest American Hero. We always watch The Greatest American Hero.
I just love
I
love this picture here. Halloween 1983. Jeff, G.I. Joe, bad guy, Cobra. Very descriptive.
What was Jeff like?
And Courtney was a bedtime Care Bear, which is also genius.
Do you have any memory of him dressing up as his own superhero? Because this picture, you look quite uncertain of whether or not he should be wearing
Go
that.
out in the
Yeah.
I do remember that. He was always creatively coming up with, I don't know if we want superhero costumes. And one of the things we had gotten, and I think it was at a yard sale, we found this book. We found this little book about cowboys. And it was like a manual for cowboys.
But for
so
kids,
wonderful.
I mean, it's like, we still have that book. Yeah.
And there was this one page that was literally up at the top. It said, "What do cowboys wear?"
Yeah.
And it went through.
Steve's lost his mind.
Just wait, it gets better. If that makes any sense.
It went through everything. It described the spurs, which of course you can see in one of those pictures I had to construct out of tinfoil to put around his boots, which he wore, and it had all it included the vest, by the way, which is why
that's why
had
I always
that
wear the vest. Yep.
Yeah, the vest and the hat and the whole bit. I remember I went in one night to just tuck him in, and before I went to bed, and there he was lying down, and you know his cowboy hat was there and everything. He was lying down, fast asleep, and with his hands on the open book on the page. What do cowboys wear?
Because I need to know for the next day.
That's what he would go to sleep looking at. What did cowboys wear?
Yeah.
Visions of sugar plums dancing in your head.
Dude, cowboys. How about cowboys?
But did you get a sense of him as a performer at all, or?
Yeah, I mean, basically, he started making jokes at the dinner table when he was about 3 years old. Didn't make a lot of sense. Not sure.
Still
but
like now.
In what ways did he talk about movies? Was he obsessed with it? Did he always ask you to go to the movies, or
He always wanted to go to the movies, and he always wanted to describe the movie after he saw it.
How
He
did
always
that?
wanted to tell the entire movie, every single word in the movie he wanted to relay. And I wish I had let him say more of it. Sometimes I said, okay, summarize, you know.
Summarize.
He just would start telling exactly what he just saw from beginning to end.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's so great.
And then the next day he would tell it, and then the next day he would tell it, and it was just like continual.
What's that?
This is when he was very little.
I see the Mr. Miyagi stickers, which
Yeah,
is
we had
genius.
stickers, and it was just. This is called the Scooby-Doo Gremlin Book movie.
This is the sticker book movie? This is the sticker book thing?
Scooby-Doo Gremlin Book movie. He would say, and I would write.
Oh my
He
god.
couldn't even write yet. By Daniel.
Mother, I'm taking dictation.
Right.
Begin.
Scooby-Doo
Inspiration.
Gremlin book movie.
Whoa, wow, that was a fast drive gizmo. Don't forget Kate, or don't forget Kate, or I don't know.
was his
Don't forget
girlfriend in
Kate.
Ends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would understand better than I would.
Storyboards. It's storyboards.
Okay.
They are
Yeah.
storyboards.
Rough, you know.
Okay.
Blueprint for the
Gizmo.
Previs.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Gizmo. Here comes Stripe.
Yeah. Now, was he really into video games too, or was
I
that?
was into video games.
Yeah.
Video games.
Nintendo one?
Right, Nintendo,
Right.
that Mario business, you know.
The Mario business. I remember
Yeah.
being in that
Yeah,
business.
obsessed.
But he was into Legos. He used to love to build these Legos, and boy, don't anybody touch them. One time, this was even later in life. One time we had, I think it was my nephew was over there when my nephew was little, and my nephew needed something to play with, and so I went in to Jeff. I think Jeff was off at college.
I love this. Keep going.
And I brought out the bag. Jeff had an old laundry bag that was full of Legos, and
Right.
that's what he used to use. You know, I mean, everything was dumped in there.
We've heard him talk of the Legos.
And I brought out the Legos for my nephew and my nephew played with them and everything. I think then the next time Jeff came home from college, he said, "Who played with my Legos?" The only time I remember getting upset with him was the story he told last week when he cut his sister's hair, and I thought he should know better than that. Of course, he was only 5, but I still think he should have known that he couldn't cut her hair and I couldn't put it back on. But
Funny, the way he tells it, he was actually the victim of the story.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Now, do
Awesome.
you remember a certain time when you poured a glass of milk over his head?
He tells it a little differently.
It's so embarrassing. I mean, it's so weird because it was such an odd thing for me to do, and I don't even remember. I mean, I remember that, but it was also so like out of character. I mean, and I think I was just trying to get a point across.
I think the point sank in.
Dude, it sunk. I don't know what it was,
did
but.
sink in apparently.
What about his comic book thing? Did that start early?
that started very early on too. I used to
He's
take
a Marvel
him to.
zombie from way back.
I actually took him to his first Comic-Con, stood in line for the autographs.
Like what you said with the comics, I mean, I drove him to the store. I sat outside, or I would go in. Even if I would go in, there was nothing for me to read. I mean, I read everything, and there was nothing. I just had to wait for him, and there was nothing there for a grown-up. It was just who. I didn't even know who these people were. He was,
Genius.
you know.
When did his addiction to computers start?
That was early on too, because his father is addicted to computers too. Built computers from the ground. He and his dad built computers.
Yeah, we
from
had
the
a
ground
Radio
up.
Shack TRS-80.
That's really cool.
Did he ever try to include, like, Mom, will you come play this game with me, or whatever? And
I feel terrible now.
So those were our mothers.
Clearly, we
describing-
were all raised on Rad.
I'm actually pretty surprised at how, similar.
Themes run through.
Lots
threads.
of themes.
Yeah.
And even weird stuff like went to private school, elementary school first, then went to public school. I was sort of surprised at that. Left-handed. The rad hand of justice. I don't know why that came out.
It's interesting also to see, there's things that resonate from your side, but to see their perspective on
It's a different
those
beast.
things and the things that were really super important to you, and they get the fact that you communicated that it was important to you, but
Right.
they didn't ever really get why it was important to you. It's fun.
It's really cool. Although I feel like I missed out on the comic books thing. At least my
Well, we're
mom
catching
doesn't
you up
have
right
to
now.
sit in the car for so long. I'm sure there was some other thing that she had to sit in the car for, but well, that's cool. Well,
Bossy.
dude,
Happy Mother's Day.
Punches.